All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to open up the playbook on something called anchoring bias. And we're not just going to look at it as some quirky thing our brains do, but as a seriously powerful, strategic tool for managing how people perceive value.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll get into the core concept, the anchor principle itself. Then we'll equip you with a toolkit of specific anchoring techniques. After that, we'll look at a matrix to see how these strategies actually get put into practice. We'll walk through a great real-world example, and finally, we'll cover how to use these tools without falling into some very common traps.
Okay, first things first. We have to lay the foundation. What exactly is this thing we call anchoring bias?
Well, this powerful idea was first identified by two giants of psychology, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky. And what they discovered is pretty simple but profound. Anchoring bias is our tendency to get completely hung up on the very first piece of information we receive. That first number, that first impression, it becomes our mental anchor, and every single judgment we make after that is tethered to it.
And here's the absolute key takeaway for anyone in business. This isn't about trickery, it's about strategically guiding perception. See, if you don't set an anchor for your customers, you know what they'll do? They'll find one on their own, and you can bet it's going to be your cheapest competitor. So by setting that anchor yourself, you get to control the entire conversation about value right from the get-go.
Okay, so we know what it is. Now, let's get practical. How does this actually work? Let's build out your toolkit with the specific instruments you can use to set these powerful anchors.
The most straightforward and common tool you'll see every single day is, of course, price itself. This is all about strategically using one price to completely reframe the perception of another. Think about it. You've seen this a million times. You go to a pricing page and bam, the first thing they show you is the super expensive gold package. That huge number immediately sets the standard. So when you see the standard package next, your brain doesn't evaluate it in a vacuum. Nope, it sees it as a fantastic deal in comparison. It's the exact same logic behind the manufacturer's suggested retail price. That number creates an anchor of what it should cost, making your actual price look like a smart buy.
Now, next up is a tool that's a bit more subtle, but oh man, it is just as potent. It's called unit framing. This is where you change the scale of the anchor to make the cost feel way smaller.
And this is just brilliant, isn't it? $10 a day feels, well, it feels like a couple of coffees, right? It's a trivial expense you don't even think about. But $300 a month? Whoa, hold on. That sounds like a car payment. That's a serious commitment. The total amount is exactly the same, but the anchor changes everything. Same thing with pennies per use. It masterfully makes you forget about the big upfront price and focus on the tiny, long-term value instead.
But here's the thing. Anchoring isn't just about playing with numbers. The real pros know how to use stories, context, and powerful cues to create psychological anchors that are just as strong, if not stronger. I mean, why does a product with a fancy European-sounding name just feel more authentic and high quality? That's heritage anchoring at work. It anchors the product in your mind to a story of tradition and craftsmanship. And that rind on a piece of cheese? That's not just a rind, it's a physical anchor. A simple, powerful cue that screams artisanal and separates it from the plastic-wrapped stuff, justifying a higher price.
This quote from the marketing legend Rory Sutherland just nails it. The value we perceive isn't just about the raw materials or the labor. So much of it is constructed in our minds, built on top of these powerful anchors.
So we have our toolkit. We have price, unit framing, and narrative. But how do these tools actually connect to the specific outcomes we want to achieve in a customer's mind? Let's map it all out.
This is really the critical question, isn't it? What is actually happening inside someone's head when we use these different techniques? Let's break it down. Okay, this table right here, this is basically your strategic playbook. On the left, you've got the overall strategy. In the middle, the specific tactic you use. And on the right, this is the most important part, the exact mental anchor you're trying to create. So showing a 50,000 rupee package first creates a high reference point. Simple. Now look at the bottom one, the decoy effect. This is a classic. You offer a third option that's kind of weirdly priced or slightly worse than another one. Why? Its only job is to make your target option look like a no-brainer. It creates a value comparison that actively pushes the customer right where you want them to go.
Let's take this out of the theoretical and into the real world. Here is a perfect example of these principles in action, something you see every single day in the software industry.
So a typical B2B software company presents its pricing like this for a very specific reason. The most important part is that they lead with the $5,000 a month enterprise plan. Now that plan isn't actually for most people. Its real job is to be the anchor. It sets the absolute ceiling for what a solution like this is worth.
So what happens when a potential customer looks at the $500 professional plan? The brain doesn't just register a cost. No way. It registers a 90% savings compared to that massive anchor you just set. The entire value of that professional plan has been framed by the enterprise plan, making it feel incredibly reasonable.
Now, here's a word of caution. Because this is such a powerful tool, it also comes with real risks. If you use it incorrectly, it can backfire spectacularly. So it is absolutely essential to understand the common pitfalls. First, there's the unbelievable anchor. If your anchor price is just so ridiculously high that it defies all logic, it doesn't create value, it just creates skepticism and distrust. Second, the low price trap. This one gets so many people. If you launch a premium product at a super low introductory price, you've just anchored your brand's value to cheap. And when you inevitably raise the price, your customers feel betrayed. And finally, don't anchor to weak features. Saying your product has quality isn't an anchor, it's the bare minimum expectation. A powerful anchor has to be specific and distinctive.
And really, in the end, it all comes back to this killer quote from the godfathers of positioning, Al Ries and Jack Trout. Mastering anchoring is about deeply understanding that value isn't won or lost in the factory or in the lines of code. The real battle is and always will be a battle of perceptions fought in the mind of the consumer.